Silent Spring by Rachel Carson was published in 1962 and was the first book to bring awareness to the issue of widespread pesticide use and its effect on the environment and on human health. In 1962, America was widely industrialized. In the years following World War II, chemical companies had developed thousands of new synthetic pesticides, and they were being sprayed everywhere and by everyone. Pesticides were used on farms, in neighborhoods, yards, and gardens. Most people saw these chemicals as modern innovation and as an easy solution that could eliminate outdoor pests instantly without harming their plants. The book's author, Rachel Carson, was one of the first scientists to question the assumption that the use of pesticides was harmless. Carson spent years collecting scientific data surrounding the many kinds of pesticides and chemicals involved in the new phenomenon. Through this research, she discovered that almost no environmental testing had been done prior to exposing the environment to toxic chemicals and pesticides, and nobody knew what consequences they would bring.
The title Silent Spring comes from the idea that one day springtime might arrive, but no birds would sing because they would have been wiped out by toxic chemicals. This image sets the tone for the entire book. Carson covers several important concepts. Number 1, pesticides don't stay where they are sprayed. She explains how chemicals travel through air, soil, and water, affecting places far from the original spray site. Number 2, bioaccumulation and biomagnification. Carson shows how chemicals like DDT build up in the bodies of animals over time. As smaller animals are eaten by larger ones, the concentrations increase, making top predators like hawks, eagles, and owls especially vulnerable. Number 3, harm to wildlife. Carson describes how DDT caused birds' eggshells to become so thin that they would break before the chicks could hatch. Many species were pushed to the brink of extinction. Number 4, human health risks. She discusses connections between pesticides and cancer, liver damage, neurological problems, and birth defects. At the time, these ideas were extremely controversial because companies insisted their products were completely safe. Number 5, over-reliance on chemical solutions. Carson argues that spraying chemicals was often a quick and poorly understood response to complex ecological issues. Instead of trying to eliminate pests biologically or improve environmental balance, society jumped straight to widespread chemical applications. And number 6, the interconnectedness of nature. This is one of the book's central messages. Carson emphasizes that every part of an ecosystem depends on the others. When chemicals disrupt one part, the effect ripples outward. One of the impressive things about Silent Spring is that Carson blends scientific evidence with vivid storytelling. She uses real-world examples and case studies to make the science understandable and emotionally powerful. This made the book accessible to everyday readers and not just scientists.
Silent Spring was first released, it immediately sparked national controversy because the chemical industry felt threatened, so they responded aggressively to Carson's book. Major companies like Monsanto, an agrochemical and agricultural biotechnology corporation, personally attacked Carson's credibility to speak on the detrimental effects of pesticides, claiming that she was unqualified, even though she was a highly trained scientist. They tried to portray her as being anti-progress and anti-science. Industry critics made accusations that she was hysterical and a mass murderess who was responsible for potential food shortages and diseases due to her opposition to pesticides that control disease vectors like mosquitoes. Despite the backlash from these major corporations, the public reacted very differently. The book became a bestseller for 31 months and captured enormous public attention. Many people felt represented and seen after reading her book due to their own personal experience of the environmental changes Carson described, and her book gave them the language and evidence to explain what they were witnessing in their own lives. The debate grew so intense that the federal government became involved. Carson was asked to testify before Congress in 1963. Rather than an outright ban on all pesticides, she argued for stricter regulation of pesticides and better testing before chemicals were approved. Her testimony was incredibly influential as it led to major historical outcomes, some of these being, it helped launch the modern environmental movement, which grew rapidly in the 1960s and 1970s. The U.S. government conducted new scientific investigations into pesticide safety as a direct result of the book, and the Environmental Protection Agency was created in 1970, partly inspired by the awareness Carson raised. DDT was also banned in the United States in 1972, which protected many bird species from extinction. And the environmental laws expanded, including the Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act, and Endangered Species Act. Unfortunately, though, Carson didn't live long enough to see the full impact of her work, as she only died 2 years after Silent Spring was published, but her legacy continued to grow and is still recognized today.
The legacy of Silent Spring reaches far beyond just environmental awareness of pesticides and chemicals. Many of the regulations we rely on today trace back to Carson's book. For example, environmental policy was highly impacted by her work, especially regarding modern regulations requiring chemical testing, environmental impact studies, and stricter pesticide regulations. These were put into place because Carson discovered what could happen without regulation. Public environmental awareness rose drastically due to Silent Spring, not just regarding pesticide use, but also of our obligation as humans to care for the environment. Before Silent Spring, the idea that everyday chemicals could be harmful was not widely understood. Today, consumers are much more aware of environmental and health impacts that pesticides bring. Carson also helped bring to light the idea that ecosystems are connected to one another. This is now central to conservation biology, climate studies, and wildlife management. The introductory scene that Carson paints of a spring without birds singing was affected as well, as many bird species made major comebacks after DDT was banned. Concerns about pesticides continue today. Carson warns that human technological advancements must be balanced with ecological awareness, a conversation that is highly relevant in today's society with the use of diminishing natural resources.
Silent Spring taught me the importance of speaking up and sharing a new perspective. It opened my eyes to the importance of educating myself on different environmental issues and concepts. I think everyone should read Silent Spring to gain a new perspective and to further their education on the serious threat pesticides pose on human health and environmental health.
After reading this informative book, I not only learned about the dangers of pesticides in our society, but I recognized the real importance of speaking on topics that have little coverage despite potential backlash. Even though companies of major influence belittled Carson and shamed her for dissecting their harmful practices, it was worth receiving that hate to later be the cause of new, improved changes in our environment and legislation.
By reading Silent Spring, I was shocked that I had not ever heard of the detrimental and even fatal impacts that toxic chemicals and pesticides have on human health and on environmental health. The damage done by these toxins is immense, but by spreading awareness, we can work together towards a healthier society.